Liberty process.
Justice Series Hopper Auger Progressive Cavity Pumps. Instructions for pump disassembly. Pump size LJ6. This is an instructional disassembly video for the Justice Series LJ6 Hopper Auger Progressive Cavity Pump. Before starting the disassembly of your Liberty Process pump, we recommend that you contact a Liberty Process representative if you have any questions. If the pump has been in service, we recommend that you have flushed and drained the pump of all pump mediums and have a sturdy workbench on which to work. Tools required: a pipe wrench, strap wrench, or chain wrench, a 5/16 inch, 9/16 inch, 11/16 inch, and 3/4 inch wrench, a punch and a hammer, a 5/16 inch Allen wrench, a hook spanner wrench, a small flat-bladed screwdriver, a chisel, a pair of side cutters, a rubber mallet, a vise mounted to a table or a stand, and an arbor press or hydraulic press. Pump disassembly. Begin by bolting the pump to the workbench. Remove the drive pin retaining screws with a 5/16 inch Allen wrench. Use a hammer and punch to remove the drive pin. Slide the collar pin retainer towards the packing gland. Remove the two drive pin washers using a small flat-bladed screwdriver. Stator removal. Remove the pump discharge adapter using a strap wrench. Unscrew the two stator support bolts using a 3/4 inch wrench and remove the top portion. Use the strap wrench to unscrew the stator from the hopper. The rotor, auger, and connecting rod will be removed with the stator. Place the stator assembly in a vise. Remove the first retaining bands using a metal cutoff wheel. Once the first band is loosened, use a punch and a hammer to slide the band out of the way and remove the pin. Separate the auger from the rotor. Use a sturdy punch to unscrew the rotor from the stator, using liquid soap as a lubricant if needed. Place the connecting rod assembly in a vise and remove the remaining band with the metal cutoff wheel. Use the punch and hammer to slide the band out of the way and remove the pin. stator assembly is now disassembled. Hopper and packing removal. Remove the 2 packing gland nuts and washers by hand or with an 11/16" wrench. Remove the 4 hopper bolts using a 3/4" wrench. Set the hopper on the workbench. If necessary, the hopper bolts can be removed by unscrewing them. Using a packing puller if needed, remove the packing lantern ring and gland insert. Drive shaft and bearing removal. Using a pair of side cutters, remove the key out of the keyway. Take care not to damage the key, keyway, or drive shaft. Use a 9/16" wrench to remove the 4 bolts from the bearing cover plate and remove the bearing cover plate from the shaft. You may need to tap a small wedge with a hammer to aid in removing the bearing cover plate. Using a 3/4" wrench, remove the 2 bolts holding the suction support cap on the bearing housing and remove the cap. Remove the bearing housing from the suction support and place in a press. Take care to put the housing on the press plates in such a way that the drive shaft assembly can be pressed all of the way out. Now you can remove the packing gland and collar pin retainer from the bearing housing. Drive shaft and bearing disassembly. Place the drive shaft vertically in a vise with the keyway facing up. Remove any grease from between the axial and radial bearings. If salvageable, the grease can be saved and stored for reuse. In order to remove the bearing lock nut and bearing lock washer, tap a small screwdriver with a hammer to bend the lock washer tab out of the slot on the lock nut. Use an appropriately sized hook spanner wrench to unscrew the bearing lock nut. Remove both the bearing lock nut and the lock nut washer from the pump drive shaft. Remove the thrust bearing first, keeping pressure on the inner race as you press the drive shaft through it. Remove the spacer from the drive shaft. Place the drive shaft back in the press and remove the radial bearing. The drive shaft assembly is now completely disassembled. Radial grease seal and thrust grease seal removal. Use a dowel rod and a hammer to gently drive the radial seal out of the pump bearing housing. Only remove the seals if you plan on replacing them. Be advised that removing the seals may damage them. The thrust seal is mounted in the pump bearing cover plate. Using a rod and a hammer, gently drive the thrust seal out of the bearing cover. The Justice Series LJ6 progressive cavity hopper pump is now completely disassembled. sure to inspect all parts for wear and replace if required. If you have any questions about or require spare parts for the repair of your Liberty Process LJ6 progressive cavity hopper auger pump, please feel free to contact us at www.libertyprocess.com. We always have complete pumps and all spare parts in our inventory ready to ship the same day.